This is Dante Williams, and you watching
Dante's
Boxing Nation.
This is Showtime Sean Porter.
Filipino Flash, Jesse Burns.
This is Al Bernstein. You're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Hi, I'm Sugar Ray.
Chick Shape.
Sergio the last snake more.
Dante's Boxing Nation. Boom, 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 boom. Yo, this is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder.
My name is Gennady Golovkin.
And you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
Hi, this is Julian Jackson, and this is Dante Boxing Nation.
This is Julia Jackson, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. All right. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? First things first, congratulations to Billy Joe Saunders. We now have a new middleweight champion in the middleweight division. The middleweight division is definitely heating up. You got Gennady Golovkin, Danny Jacobs, and now Billy Joe Saunders. Now, we could say that Golovkin actually really does have some reasonable competition in his own division. Don't get me wrong, the real division is still at 168 and 154, but, you know, this definitely does help Gennady's reputation if he gets in the ring with either one of these guys. Let's talk a little bit about the fight. Billy Joe Saunders, he won the fight by a majority decision. It's interesting because the fight started off in the first couple of rounds with Joe Saunders dropping Andy Lee twice. It started to remind me of the Jacobs versus Quillen fight. I was about to do my post-fight vid because I thought the fight was pretty much over, and I was about to say, wow, this was almost Peter Quillen, Danny Jacobs all over again. But the difference is when Danny Jacobs hurt Peter Quillen, he refused, and I mean he refused to let Quillen off the hook. But like I said, Billy pretty much let Andy Lee off the hook. You could probably attribute some of that to Andy Lee's resilience, and then you would attribute the rest to Joe Saunders probably not being able to finish off Andy Lee the way Danny Jacobs was able to when it comes to Peter Quillen. But either way, this is a big win. This is a big game changer in the middleweight division. Like I just said before, now we have some real type competition in the division. It'll be very interesting to see what happens next. Joe Saunders, because of his style, he's somewhat of a slick fighter. He has speed. He's very slippery. He has defense. And most importantly, he's a southpaw. I mean, one of the southpaws that almost beat Gennady Golovkin was a guy by the name of Kasim Uma. But the only difference is Kasim Uma, he's a southpaw that's aggressive, a volume puncher, stays close to you. So Joe Saunders is not an aggressive fighter. He's more of a slickster. But it'll still be interesting to see how Golovkin deals with a young, undefeated, confident fighter. Okay? We've already seen Joe Saunders basically deal with an undefeated power puncher before, and that was Chris Eubank Jr. Not saying that Eubank is on the same level of Golovkin, but Saunders is going into that fight with already having the experience of being in the ring with an undefeated power puncher. I don't really know what type of experience Golovkin has when it comes to going in the ring with a young, undefeated champion who hasn't been taught how to lose yet. So it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting. And I was telling you guys before this fight, Danny Jacobs and Golovkin, they both won, or maybe I should say wanted, the winner of tonight's fight, which is now Saunders. But now, since Danny Jacobs has the mandatory, which is Chris Eubank Jr., it looks like if Golovkin is still up to the task, which I'm sure he would be, because, you know, the claims are he wants to unify the belts, it looks like we're going to most likely see Golovkin versus Saunders next, and then we'll see Danny Jacobs versus Chris Eubanks, which is kind of like a four-man tournament. The only problem is I don't know if Danny Jacobs has an interest in fighting Golovkin. Like I told you guys on previous videos, he hasn't really been mentioning Golovkin's name, and when he did mention Golovkin's name, he said something like, I just want fair money. To me, that sounds like he doesn't want to get in the ring with Gennady Golovkin. That's what it sounds like to me. You know, I've heard, I mean, I haven't seen the reports for myself, but there's rumors that that Danny Jacobs, he asked for like $3 million or something crazy like that, which Golovkin himself has never even made $3 million. So once again, that doesn't sound like Jacobs is too crazy about getting in the ring with Gennady Golovkin. But that'll be a real pity, because with all of these good fighters that are going to be fighting each other, it's going to really make for a great type of tournament between the four. So it would really suck if Danny Jacobs fights against Chris Eubank, and let's just say the winner of that fight is not willing to fight the winner of Joe Saunders and Golovkin. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But if it does happen, then guess what? Gennady Golovkin, he told us that he just wants to clean up the middleweight division, and then he's moving up to 168, where the real competition is at. Okay? Because don't get me wrong, there is now competition in the middleweight division. But the thing with the middleweight division is Golovkin, he has a massive size and power advantage over anyone that he's going to get in the ring with. I truly believe that. But when Golovkin moves up to 168, it'll be like Nonito Donaire moving up to 126, where now the power advantage is almost gone, and you are pretty much equalized when it comes to your power versus your opponent's power. This is what I believe we're going to see when Golovkin moves up to 168. You know, that's when a fighter is really challenged. When you get in the ring with a guy who's either just as strong as you are or stronger, maybe just as big or bigger than you, and he has a skill set very similar to yours, then we really find out how good you are. It's much easier to dominate a division when you're the only big, strong guy in the division, right? How do you deal with a guy your same size? We're going to see that when Golovkin moves up to 168. Now, don't get it twisted. There's no guarantee that Golovkin will even beat Joe Saunders. I mean, of course, I would lean towards Golovkin, at least right now, and I would lean towards Triple G. But I'm just saying there's no guarantee he'll beat him. Because once again, he's going in there with a different type of fighter. Usually Golovkin is used to fighting guys who've already been knocked out before. They've already lost a couple times. Maybe they don't have hardly any knockouts on their record, like maybe 6 knockouts, like the case was with Willie Monroe. These are usually the type of opponents that Gennady Golovkin is facing. So once again, Saunders would be a different type of challenge, and it'll be a step in the right direction. Now, don't get me wrong. Golovkin is still on the slow bus, though, because if you compare him to fighters like Anthony Joshua, he only had 14 fights, and his step up against Dylan White was a bigger step up than Gennady Golovkin has ever had in his professional career. This step up against Saunders, it is a step up, but it's a very late type of step up. But nevertheless, it is a step up. And hopefully we see that fight, and hopefully from that point on, we either see Golovkin versus Jacobs, or we see Golovkin move up to 168 and fight the real challenges. Fighters like James DeGale. Those are the type of challenges that will really, really let us know how good Golovkin really is. Okay? So once again, congratulations to Billy Joe Saunders. I really like the fact that now we have 3 undefeated middleweights. Somebody has got to go. That's all I got, guys. I'm on to the next one.